I read about one of our secretaries of state from one of our previous administrations. And this Secretary of State, when they would hold meetings with their new ambassadors, at the end of their meeting, he had this large globe on his desk, and he would spin the globe, and they'd say, go over to that globe and prove to me that you can identify your country. Well, he did that for a number of new ambassadors for a while, until he met with the new ambassador to Japan. And when he spun that globe and said, go over and prove to me you can identify your country, the man stopped on the United States and said, this is my country. And that so impressed the Secretary of State that he changed his way of finishing off his meetings with his new ambassadors. Because from that point forward, he would put his finger on the globe on the United States. And here's what he would say to that new ambassador. He'd say, never forget, you're over there in that country, but your country is the United States. You're there to represent us. Take care of our interests first. Never forget that. I shared last Sunday in my message this verse that's meant a lot to me recently out of 2 Corinthians 5:20, and this verse starts off with this phrase: we are therefore Christ's ambassadors. I said on Sunday that an ambassador is a diplomat sent from one country to officially represent that country to a foreign country. And I think it's kind of interesting that each one of us right now finds, as ambassadors for Christ, we find our feet in two different countries. One foot in this physical world, which is the foreign country, and the other foot in the spiritual world, which is our home country. But the question is, where am I putting most of the weight? On which foot am I putting most of the weight? Have I truly settled the issue, which country is truly my home country? Had a very helpful conversation about this just this past Sunday with our men's Sunday school class. We're now meeting again via Zoom. And we talked about this at length. And, we've talked to our leaders about this from time to time as well. And now this has been the huge topic of discussion these last couple months among Christians all over, which is, in these moments of great opportunity, how can we best be ambassadors for Christ into this broken world we find ourselves in? Barb and I watch the news, a little bit more her than me, but these days you can't turn on the news without seeing people that are so argumentative, so hyper-political, defensive, angry about a whole variety of issues today. Well, I've gotten to the point where this no longer surprises me, but the problem becomes when Christians begin to take this approach. The minute that I, as an ambassador for Christ, get argumentative, hyper-political, defensive, angry about my points of view, whatever they might be, whether it's the virus, politics, reopening, whatever, I have already lost the argument. Nobody's ever going to be won over by this approach. But what is worse is the kingdom is lost as well, because I've lost a great opportunity for the gospel. Don't get me wrong. I think it's possible to express our views in a respectful and positive way, to encourage good, healthy dialogue. In fact, I'd encourage that. I'd also encourage us to do our homework, so we're getting our facts straight. And we're just checking our sources and things like that. Also, go back to Scripture and find out how that overlays our discussion. But I just want to caution us to just, challenge us, just to pause and ask ourselves, how am I doing with expressing my opinion about our world today, especially on social media? Am I representing Christ well? Am I being a good ambassador for Christ? Doesn't mean I can't have good, respectful disagreements and interchanges with some people who may disagree with me. So I just want to leave us all with this challenge as we move forward that goes beyond just these issues right here. But how am I representing my, quote, home country, beginning in my home And then as that goes outward in my place of employment, what kind of a worker am I? What kind of a student am I? How am I spending my free time, my money, my resources? And finally, how am I speaking out my points of view? Am I doing that in a respectful, Christ-honoring way? In the final analysis, am I being the best ambassador for Christ I can possibly be? So I am being a help for the cause of the gospel and not a hindrance to it. I read a great article this past week. I've seen it posted in a number of areas by Brett McCracken, who is a Christian writer. And he says, just a reminder that God promises grace to the humble. A lot of humility is needed by all of us right now. I love this next metaphor he uses. He says, we're all building this plane in the air. In other words, none of us has ever been here before. And so we're trying to use the best wisdom we can be as we move forward here. But we need a lot of patience with one another and a lot of humility. So what kind of an ambassador am I being as I'm trying to make sense of this crazy, messed up world around me? What world am I best representing? Just reminded of that old gospel song. This world is not my home. I'm just a passing through. This world is not my true home. This world is my true home. So that's my reminder for today. Grace and peace to you, my dear friend.